All right. My case study was the United States of America, and so we're just going to be covering some aspects of that and just going over how America was founded, where it's come since then. We're going to talk about the beginnings a little bit, and then kind of talk about some characteristics of America today. First off, America, as we know it, really came into play when Puritans, also known as the Pilgrims, came from England looking for a new land, really in pursuit of religious freedom. The Church of England was the religion that you had to be a part of in England, and they wanted the freedom to worship as they wanted to worship, and they wanted the freedom to worship who they wanted. And so they came here mainly looking for religious freedom. They came over and arrived in Cape Cod in November 1620. In the first several decades, there were a lot of deaths. It was really hard. That's really when America, as we refer to it, was really founded. In the 1700s and even in the late 1600s, the Puritans and the settlers in America had to fight with the British as they were trying to reclaim their subjects who had left. They had to fight for their freedom, and eventually in 1776, they signed the document that we know as the Declaration of Independence, simply declaring their declaration from England as a new country. And then also after signing the Declaration, they created the Constitution of the United States of America, and this Constitution was basically a governing document that that really talked about how the country was going to be run, what was going to be valued, what religious freedom was going to look like, what regular freedom was going to look like, and really what it really laid out what life was going to look like in America so that it would be different than the country they had previously come from. And then a little bit about America today. We're going to start with the government. It's a federalistic government. It's federalism, and this basically means that the government is divided between national and local or state governments. So the federal government, located in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., in the District of Columbia, they do have power, yes, but they also give power to the state governments, and then in turn the state governments give power to county and city governments so that not all one governing body has all the power. So that's what the federalism part means. And then the separation of powers, one thing that the Puritans did not want to see happen again was the form of government that that was set up in England. In England, you had a king, and the king was really the only one who made the rules. You had a parliament, yes, but the king was really the governing figure. So something that they set in place was to separate the powers so that you could have a form of checks and balances to where not one set or one part of government could take over. The three different branches of the government, of the federal government, are the executive, the judicial, and the legislative branch. The executive branch is simply talking about the President of the United States. Now, unlike the King of England, the President has power, but he does not have the ultimate power. He does not have free reign to do whatever he wants. He does have a lot of power, more so than most government figures, but at the same time, there are the other checks and balances. The judicial and legislative branch are set in place to where the president cannot simply go off and do anything and everything he wants. The second branch is the judicial branch, and this is simply referring to the Supreme Court. One thing that the Founding Fathers set in place was the Supreme Court, and it was a governing body of judicials or justices that were set in place to basically interpret the law. It is the highest court in the land, and it still is the highest court in America today. And the judicial branch is there to interpret the law. Now, this is not an elected position. The justices in the Supreme Court are appointed by the president whenever there is an opening. As long as they meet the qualifications, the justices can stay in there for life, but they are appointed, not elected. Then there is the legislative branch, and this is made up of two houses, the House of Representatives and the U.S. Senate. This acts in a way kind of like Parliament in England, where you have the House of Lords and the House of Commons, but instead the House of Lords in England is made up of nobility, whereas in America it is just laymen that make up both cabinets. The House of Representatives, the amount of representatives that you have for each state is dependent on your state population. For the Senate, every state has 2 members. The legislative branch creates law, creates policy. They, again, even within the legislative branch, they have the two cabinets to where there is another form of checks and balances there. And ultimately, the president has veto power, but the Senate and the House are the bodies that vote through laws and bills. Originally, America was mostly made up of English citizens. Later, you also had Scots coming down. You had Canadians coming down from the north. You had a lot of French people who already lived here, Spaniards who came, Irish who came. And it just really created the ethnicity pool that there is today. Today, America truly does have a diverse ethnicity group. You have people from all over the world. Basically, people from every country live in America, to where no longer is it just a Caucasian or a white country, but it truly belongs to everyone because there are so many different people. The same is true of religion. The dominant religion as of right now, or the dominant group, are Protestants, also known as Christians, those who left the Church of England. And so even though they hold a vast number of the population, there you also have Jews, you have Hindus, you have Buddhists, you have Muslims. So there truly is a diverse amount of religions, and something that is different from England and where America came from is that no religion is forced on someone, even though the majority of people in the past have supported Protestant beliefs. It is not forced on people, and they are allowed to choose whom they want to follow, or if they want to follow anyone. And then in regards to the U.S. economy, America does have an advanced industrialized economy. In the late 1700s, a lot of the Americans were growing crops and using it for food, but also for selling. And this is really where the industrialization in the economy really opened up. You do have a free market society in America, even though the government does regulate certain things, sometimes just for regulation's sake, sometimes for safety, sometimes just for some control. And a lot of it is regulated, but for the most part there is a free market society, and you are basically allowed to go as high and as far as you want to go within the limits of the law. And that is why America has truly become so great, because they've allowed people to pursue greater things, bigger than themselves. In regards to the democracy, or the governing system, America is an advanced democracy. We do not simply have a royal family that passes on the crown down through the generations. We have a president that we vote for, and also that president is not in there for his life, but rather he has a term of 4 years, a maximum double term of 8 years, but no one person can be in control of the country. Voting is very big. Citizens of the age of 18 and older are allowed to vote for who they want and who they want to be their leader, and it is based off of the votes. They also have an electoral college set in place, and it is based off of these votes that the leaders of the country are chosen. American industry is truly a diverse thing to comprehend. America does do a lot of productions. America produces a lot of crops. It produces a lot of cars, such as Chevrolet and Ford. Those are both American companies, but then also it imports a great amount of products. It imports a great amount of products from China specifically, but also from other countries, Vietnam, North Korea, South Korea, just different places that have the products that Americans are looking for, and if they can get it at a good price. So it is an extremely high industrialized country, but it does know how to import and export, and they take advantage of that. So to kind of wrap it up, we've looked at how America came from humble beginnings. The Puritans came over. They weren't rich. They weren't well-to-do or anything like that. They simply worked hard and set things in place to where they wouldn't make some of the same mistakes that England made when that country was forming. It is made up of people of different religions, different ethnicities, to where now it is not simply a country made up of whites or males or Protestants or anything like that, but truly it is made up of just a group of diverse people. It is an advanced democracy. There is not a dictatorship, anything like that. It does have a system set in place to where the citizens vote in the leaders they want to have based on their personal convictions. It also is an advanced industrialized economy, and because of that, it's currently a powerhouse in the global arena. It creates a great amount of goods. It has taken advantage of importing and exporting to where now we have relationships with countries all around the world, and it has truly made America into the great country that it is